Well, welcome to this month's CCI video update, highlighting the great work of schools and their supportive community partners working together to reach the aims of Lilly Endowment's comprehensive counseling initiative. I'm Matt Fleck, and today our guest is George Gilner, who's president and CEO of TechPoint Foundation for Youth. George, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to the conversation.
There are some schools that I'm sure are very familiar with TechPoint Foundation for Youth, but for those that aren't, tell us a little bit about you and about TechPoint and what you do with schools and students.
Yeah, so I'll start with our mission. TechPoint Foundation for Youth's mission is to provide STEM access, equal access to STEM education for underserved, underrepresented students throughout the entire state of Indiana. The way we prioritize our population of students we serve is we try to get more girls interested in STEM, students of color, and then lastly, low-income students or underserved students. And we do that in a variety of different ways. I think our most popular program is through robotics. So we help start robotics teams to any elementary, middle, or high school in the state of Indiana. We provide the funding, resources, training, tools in order to help start a robotics team. We have a mentor program where we try to connect STEM professionals with STEM classrooms just to help connect what they're being taught in the classroom to relate it directly to a career. And then kind of our third initiative that became very important during COVID is our digital equity initiative, which is making sure students have equal access to computers and internet at home. Because as we all know, during a time of e-learning, it's required, but even just daily homework assignments and projects really require access to internet and computers, and our population of students sometimes do not have access at home. So those are the three main things that we do throughout the entire state of Indiana. And what we look for are meaningful STEM programs that give hands-on experience, build confidence in young students to say, maybe I could enter the field of STEM someday. So that's kind of TechPoint Foundation for Youth in a nutshell.
I was looking on your website, and you partner with so many other organizations. I mean, STEM has exploded over the last couple of years, and there's so many organizations doing that, and you partner with a lot of other organizations, right?
Talking and working with other nonprofits or organizations, that's really important. We don't want to work in a vacuum. We're experts in our area, but we've become experts because we listen very well and make sure that schools are telling us where they need help, and we try to find solutions to those problems.
One of the pieces of the comprehensive counseling initiative is to improve academic achievement of students, and the grant and the initiative was really aimed at a lot of school counseling programs. And I think, as a former school counselor, I think the academic achievement piece is one piece that counselors sometimes struggle with. I mean, we always try to clear the way, take out the obstacles, or help students overcome the obstacles so they can academically achieve. But helping them in more direct ways, it can sometimes be difficult. It seems, though, that working with STEM and with TechPoint Foundation for Youth is one way that a lot of schools can collaborate with other organizations like yours to help students achieve academically, especially, like you say, students who are maybe underserved, those underserved populations.
Yeah, so I agree. I think schools, first off, schools have a really difficult challenge just because they are dealing with so many different variables and different obstacles. And unfortunately, what happens a lot of the times is we'll call elective courses become pushed off to the side. And STEM sometimes falls under that category, where it's an elective, it's not our core subjects, our students are not being assessed during I-STEP or SAT prep, or, I mean, it is an elective, or some people think of it as an enrichment. It's not necessarily a core class that all students need to take. And I think the schools that have, I would say, the means to provide STEM education embrace it and do it very well. That they have the staff with the right knowledge, and they have the funding. They have wonderful STEM education programs or technology education programs, and they do really well, and their students have access. And what we tend to work with are the schools that for whatever reason maybe do not have great access to STEM education for students. And so what we have identified when I mentioned robotics being one of our bigger programs, what we identified early on is what is a STEM education program that's very inviting to any walk of student. And we're talking a student that is low achieving or high achieving, a student that is involved in sports or may never participate in sports, a boy or a girl. What we identified is robotics is one of the most easiest way to get students excited about STEM. And I've seen as a student, a robotics student myself and a robotics coach, the trickle down effect of what robotics provides and does, trickling down to other subjects. So students might be on a robotics team, but they'll very quickly, the easiest is they'll very quickly see the value in math. And they might have never really applied math before. They might have thought math was one of the more challenging subjects and that they're just not good at it. And why do I need to know this? Well, it's for the test. And that didn't really help them. But when they can start applying it to something like robotics, where if I know math, I can program this robot. And if I can do that well, I can score more points and get rewarded with a trophy or going on to the next competition. Then I need to start paying attention to math. But then they have an engineering notebook where they have to document everything they do daily. Now they're writing, they're telling a story, they're documenting their work. And the engineering notebook can actually get them to the state championship and eventually to the world championship. And so that trickle down effect that I've said is that robotics is so multifaceted. A lot of people just think of it as, students that want to be on a robotics team eventually want to build robots, or the next maybe career they get associated with is maybe automation or assembly lines. And I say, no, robotics provides all the skills necessary to be successful in life. It's in fact, I truly believe that robotics is one of the best things that you can provide to your students, elementary through high school. And I hope that every school in Indiana has a robotics team, just like every school pretty much has a athletic program. They should have a robotics program, and they should fund it. They should support it. They should pay their teachers to do it. They should embrace it. That is as equally as important as athletics.
But it's one of the few areas where I think, we've always kind of categorized, you're an academic learner, you're college bound, you are a hands-on learner, you are career bound. These are two different things. And what I've seen over the years is that STEM and engineering, and especially robotics, has kind of connected those. You could be heading toward you could be doing robotics and heading toward an engineering path that takes you to a 4-year or more degree. You could be doing engineering where you're actually building robots and working with your hands and in a great career right after high school or right after a 2-year college. So I think it's a good connector, and it kind of breaks down those typical divisions or stereotypes we have of one or the other, which I think is great.
Yeah, it gives students options, right? I think options are very, very important for students. And so I think they learn that they can work with their hands. So maybe they want to go in construction, or they learn that they can program. I want to be a programmer, or they like building and designing, and maybe I am to this whole engineering thing. And so they're being mindful of careers. The teachers, it lends itself. It's a direct connection to engineering, and there's so many different fields within engineering. So yeah, it helps give students options. But then the most important, you mentioned just college bound, college ready. I mean, I think that's the next thing that we need to do as a foundation and organization to serve our students, is making sure these students are college ready, so that they have that option that if they do want to go to college. And I think we've all agreed that that's not always the end goal for all students, but they should have that option.
At least have the option. Yeah. Be prepared so you can choose, so you're not limited by somebody else deciding that for you. I love the fact that it's engaging too, and it engages students in the education they need. And if they can stay in school and be engaged, boy, that's a lot of battles that you've won right there. So tell me, speaking of engagement, how a lot of our audiences are school counselors. How do they engage with TechPoint Foundation for Youth? How do they connect with your organization?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost is if a counselor at a school does not have a robotics program, they need to reach out to us right away. Our website, techpointyouth.org, my email, george@techpointyouth.org, email me. But we have, as I said before, the funding, We train the teachers. They go through a professional development where they actually get, PD credits. And then we hold the teachers' hands for the first 2 years. Usually takes about 1 to 2 years to fully grasp and understand and be confident in becoming a robotics coach. So we take care of all the difficult things. And so that's number one. Number two, we are starting a new program that we're really excited to launch, which is now robotics in the classroom. So when I talk robotics up to this point, it mostly is an after-school activity. A few schools actually have a robotics class and they meet during the school day, but majority of those teams are after school. We now have curriculum that has been developed by VEX and RAC. It's called VEX Go. And we're looking for funding right now, and we're hoping to pilot 10 schools this year, see how it goes, and then go in a full launch for next year. But what this is, it's a very kind of cost-effective way to get robotics or STEM education into the elementary, early middle school grades. And it models everything that students do in the after school. Why we think this is helpful is we push, but we don't have control to get more girls, students of color, low-income students on these robotics teams. But what happens is a lot of girls say, robotics is not for me. That's for boys. That's a boys' sport, and that's meant for the boys. And we really try to have the teachers encourage the girls. And so we think by bringing this into the classroom, girls can't opt out. Students of color can't opt out. If you don't have the resources to be picked up after school, those students can't opt out. So it'd be great exposure. We're really excited about that. And so what I would tell counselors is if you have students that struggle in other courses, we think that robotics is a great way to bring those students into an exciting, as you mentioned, engaging way of learning. And so whether that is making sure that if you have students that struggle, providing a robotics team, pushing those students towards a robotics team can really change them. We also think by providing this in the classroom, it's going to start showing students and giving them the confidence that, oh, I could do this. And then hoping that they then join the robotics team at their school. But I think for counselors right now, it's just making sure that they're aware of robotics, that it is really one of the best ways to prepare students for the real world.
It's definitely clear that you have a passion for this work and I'm the right person for the job. So, hey, George, I wish we had more time, but you've given us enough that we can show counselors your website here at the end and your contact information, if you don't mind. We put in your email up there.
Yeah.
George Gilner, President and CEO of TechPoint Foundation for Youth. Thank you for joining us. And thanks to all of you who are watching this monthly CCI video update.